Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all doing, guys? Hope you're doing fantastic. A good Monday evening to y'all. I'm so glad to be back home here in Houston. I got some stories to tell y'all from last week. Y'all saw me in a hotel room last week. That was just the start of my adventure. You never know when I travel. There's always something going on. So we'll talk about that before we do. A big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids. Love reality TV, especially love you guys out here as well. I hope y'all are doing well, staying warm. A little cold earlier, but it's like in the 70s down here in Houston. Typical winter weather here in Houston. Can't make up its mind what's good, what's not. So enjoying the outdoors just a little bit. Got a little squirrel story I may throw out at y'all as well. But I hope you're doing fantastic. Before going further, I was going to just go out there and check and see, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget. I want to see who all was out there. It's always so much fun getting on here and seeing all y'all sitting out here talking everything. All my friends every Monday night just gives me something to look forward to when typically Mondays, you know how that goes. Amanda Lowe's out here. Can't wait to hear about the Fig Newtons. I'll tell you about the Fig Newtons, Amanda. Brian Hustler as well. Brian, how are you doing? I got a little comments on the FAA outage that took place. So if I don't talk about it, I will. But if not, remind me of it. And Mark Taylor, we'll definitely talk a little challenge here as well. Jake, the horror movie geek. Jake, how are you doing? I watched a little bit of a horror movie this weekend that I want to get your thoughts on as well. Marilyn Sutherland. Hey, Marilyn, how are you doing? Cindy Hire. Cindy, I'm always happy to see you here as well. Andy W. saying, made it back to Oregon. Well, congratulations. I made it back to Houston. Not that easy, but welcome. Ma, how are you doing? Explain your background. Yeah, I'll explain it. Andy, I think I may have caught you, but that's all right. I'll mention again. For Keith Franken, how are you doing, sir? Hope you're doing fantastic. And congratulations on your speech. You got 100 on it. I had faith in you, my friend. Nothing you can't do when you put your mind to it. So congratulations. I know it took hard work. So congratulations on that. Let's see, Michelle Moore. Hot Pocket sound pretty good to me as well. And Maureen Carroll. Maureen, I didn't want to leave you out. Howdy. Hope you're doing well also. And I think that's it. If I missed anyone, sorry about that. Remind me, let me know, because it wasn't intentional. So welcome to all of y'all. Welcome as well to those. I know not everyone watches the show live. Some of y'all watch it on replay. Welcome to y'all as well. I appreciate y'all. If you're watching on replay and you ever have any questions and you can't post them on the comments because you aren't watching it live, feel free to shoot me a DM during the week. I promise I will I'll look at it. I'll try to write it down, see if we can't get to it the following week, because y'all are just as important as everyone else watching it. So again, welcome to all of y'all. Ma saying, I thought Cliff was shirtless at first. It's just a pink shirt. It's an orange shirt. I'm just going to have to throw this thing away because I've had too many people say that too many times. I guess it's a good thing I'm wearing the outside shirt, huh? All right. No, I am wearing a shirt. I do have a certain level of decorum in here. Inside the Big Brother house, it was funny because I got a little heft on me, right? And there were some people in the house that were very much the alpha males. They're out there. They're flexing their muscles. They're making their abs go back and forth, shake like a set of bongo drums or something. I got 6-pack abs. They're just buried behind a keg or so. But I remember when I was in there, they wanted to do our swimsuit picks for Big Brother. And some of the producers said, Cliff, it's up to you. If you want to throw on your shirt before you do your swimsuit picks, go for it. I said, no, not a chance in the world. I'm going to own everything about who I am when I come into this game. So no shirt. I'll put on I think I was wearing my red, white, and blue swimsuit. So I'm going to put on the swimsuit. I'm going to put on the hat. And that's all I'm putting on. And they said, if you want to do it, Cliff, go for it. Which I did. And it was funny. But I also think it was funny. Like Jack from my season. Y'all remember Jack, right? The Aquaman. They had Jack get in the swimming pool, and they took pictures of him throwing back his hair and water going everywhere. And they had Tommy posing on the side of the pool and all of these kind of shots. When it was my turn, they brought me over and said, hey, Cliff, why don't you just stand here and why don't you hold this kayak in your hand? Just hold the top of it so the kayak's there next to you. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a really sexy shot. Yeah, thanks, guys. So they took pictures of me holding the kayak. I guess they didn't like that because I think they eventually got me doing something like, I don't know, something. But yeah, I laughed about that. I said, how come I didn't get well, of course, me getting in the swimming pool, throwing my hair back, you're not going to see a lot of water flowing from my long golden locks, right? Not so much, but yeah, I had so much fun when we shot those photos. It was it like the second day or so? So we're still trying to get to know each other. I was just so happy I was still in the house, considering they tried to banish me on day one. Didn't work out so well. All right. Well, with all that being said, let's talk about I see a few comments here. Is Jack still dating Annalise? No, that's a long time ago. They didn't last that long once they got outside the Big Brother house. I gotta say, I'm truly amazed that anyone lasts at all once they get outside the house, because that is such a pressure cooker in such a weird situation where you are 100% close, dependent on someone else when you're in there. And then to be in that kind of situation and then to get out in the real world and still try to carry on a relationship, I don't see how anyone does it. And I know it's happened. I mean, I met Rachel and Brendan a couple of weeks ago. They're married. They got kids, incredible kids and all. Jeff Schroeder and what's Jeff Schroeder's wife's name? That was on as well. Talking about squirrels. In fact, she'd be a squirrel. She could. Yeah, that there's relationships in form. I don't know how they do it, but nah, not so much Sis and Jack as well. All right, so let's see. A couple of questions before I see a lot of comments. I promise I'll try to get to all of them. Amanda's saying, all right, can't wait to hear about the fig news. Let's just talk about that right off the bat. I did have some travel stories, and let me tie that in as well to, I think it was Mark asking about Mark, you were asking about the challenge. I can't remember who was asking about the FAA. Was that Brian? Let's talk about last week. Yeah, Brian saying, what's your thing on the FAA outage last week? So y'all saw me Monday night. I flew to Virginia. No real problem getting there to Virginia. Coming back, not so easy. I tried to come back on Wednesday. I get up first thing in the morning. I go downstairs to eat a little breakfast. They've got the TV on. They're talking about all flights are grounded everywhere in the United States. Like, well, great. I got a flight here just a couple of hours and all flights are grounded. It's a long, I start picturing planes, trains, and automobiles. Am I going to be Steve Martin? Am I going to be John Candy? Not really sure, but I saw me having difficulties getting back home based on what I was seeing, because at the time I didn't know why flights were shut down, because they didn't have the volume on the TV. I just saw the banner, immediately got online, started seeing they were having computer problems. It's like, great. Just what I need. So I went ahead, got to the airport, was glad I got there super early, had a flight that left at noon. I got there for 9:30 or 10. Go into the airport. Sure enough, my flight's been delayed an hour or two, but that's still enough time to get me back, get me to Atlanta where I can change planes, fly to Houston. They keep delaying this flight over and over again. And this airport I'm in, Charlottesville, Virginia, is tiny. It has like 4 gates. And I guess everyone else got the message that the flight had been delayed, because I was the only person in this entire airport sitting beyond the security area. So I did a little binge watching of some Netflix shows and all. We'll talk about that in a second. But certainly sat there for a long time waiting to see what happened. Finally, my flight left at 4 o'clock, 4:30 or so in the afternoon. So I sat at this tiny little airport for 6 hours or so, 7 hours waiting. My flight from Atlanta to Houston took off before I even took off from Virginia. So I knew I missed that flight. The gate people were saying that you're going to have to spend the night in Atlanta. There's not going to be a flight available until the next morning back to Houston. So that's all there is to it. I started calling. I couldn't find any hotels close to the Atlanta airport that still had rooms, because, of course, everyone else is stuck because of this delay and everything. So I was pretty much resigned to just spending the night in the Atlanta airport. Not the first time I've ever spent the night in an airport. I've done that plenty of times, especially international. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes not so much. But I pretty much said, all right, I just told Sharonson, I'm not going to be back till tomorrow morning. There's just no way I can do it. I get to Atlanta. I start looking around. I find one flight left going from Houston or from Atlanta back to Houston. Supposedly it's completely sold out. But I went up to the ticketing people. I begged and pleaded, said, please put me on the waiting list just in case something opens up. Waited and waited right before the flight took off. Old Cliff Hog, the very last seat on the very last flight from Atlanta to Houston, and I was in it. Yeah, I made it back home Wednesday night. Now I got up at 6 in the morning in order to get to the airport in time. I didn't get home till after midnight. It made for a very long, stressful day, but I had fun. I watched a lot of Netflix, so yeah. So that was a long day. So that's the question, or that's the answer about the FAA itself. Now let's talk about Fig Newtons, because we started with that and I just kind of moved right on past it. Another little travel story for you. As I mentioned, I used to do a lot of international travel. Sometimes I'd go to places like Scotland, Vienna, Austria, places that, pretty nice places to visit. Other times I'd go to Angola, Nigeria, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, a lot of places where you're not really sure about the dining features that are going to be waiting for you. So I used to always carry snacks with me. And there's two things that I used to always carry. One was cheese and crackers or peanut butter crackers, one or the other. I would carry a bunch of those with me in my suitcase. And the other thing I would always carry were Fig Newtons, because Fig Newtons, they're packed pretty tight, right? I mean, worst comes to worst, if there's nowhere to eat, if you go all day in an airport like I did, you can pull out a few Fig Newtons, eat those. I love me some Fig Newtons. So I used to always carry Fig Newtons. But I started realizing over the last few years or so that I traveled, every time I would go through the TSA security, they would pull me off to the side and want to inspect my bags. Every single time. I thought someone had reported my name, or they thought I was a drug mule. I got to be a drug mule, but I thought something's going on because they just keep pulling me out of line every single time. Finally, I asked one of the TSA guys, I said, how come y'all always are grabbing me? You never find anything, but y'all check me every single time I go through. And he finally told me, he said, oh, it's your Fig Newtons. I said, really? Y'all are that interested in Fig Newtons? He said, Fig Newtons are so packed together, so tight with the figs inside the cookie stuff and all. He said, when we look at it on the x-ray monitors, it just looks like one big white brick that could easily be a C4 explosive. He said, other snack foods, you can kind of see spacing between them and all that, but Fig Newtons just look like a giant brick of solid something. He said, that's why you're getting called out, because we're seeing the Fig Newtons. We have to check it out every time. So last time I traveled with Fig Newtons. Yeah, I changed my travel habits after that. Haven't gotten called out by TSA since then. Isn't that amazing? I ought to report that to Fig Newtons. Do you think they put little things in their packages that when the x-rays hit it, say these are just Fig Newtons or something? I don't think that'd make a difference. But yeah, funny things that you learn while you're traveling. And I told you I traveled with Fig Newtons. The other thing I traveled with was peanut butter crackers. And I got to say, that also got me in kind of trouble once. I was flying from the United States to the Middle East. I had to change planes in Paris, France, at Charles de Gaulle Airport. I land at one terminal. I have to switch to another terminal to catch my next flight the rest of the way, which meant I had to go back through security. And these French, whatever their TSA is, their French security guards there, look through my stuff. They find these little peanut butter crackers. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those orange ones with the peanut butter inside that you buy just anywhere. And they looked at that and said, what is this? What is this? I said, well, they're peanut butter crackers. They said, oh, are they from USA? Yeah, they're from the USA. Are they any good? How do they taste? How do they taste? Yeah, they're okay. I take them as snacks. They wouldn't let me go through the line. They kept asking me about them over and over again until finally I said, hey, guys, take some. Y'all take a couple of packages of crackers. You take some. You take some. Let me know what you think. Oh, we can have some. Yeah, take them. Once they took them, they let me go right through the line. I had to pay a bribe of peanut butter crackers to get through the airport in Paris, right? The old snobby French, you're supposed to be so fluting on their foods and all that. And I got through the airport with peanut butter crackers. So yeah, still bothers me a little bit. They're just peanut butter crackers. But you took them. You made me give them to you just to get through the airport. Kind of bothered me, but whatever. I hope they enjoyed them. I guess they did. We'll see. All right, so there you go. A couple other questions on here. Michelle saying, "Was the hotel haunted?" And Miss Fire as well. Was the hotel haunted? No. Last week's hotel was a brand new, nice hotel. Not haunted at all. Pretty nice hotel. Right next to the Waffle House. I did not make it across the street there. I should have, but did not do so. I made a few trips to where'd I go? Chick-fil-A, got a little Chinese food. I ate okay while I was over there, but it was a quick trip, so I didn't really have a chance to go out and explore. I love when I travel to go find where the locals eat. Some restaurant that's strictly not a chain or anything else, but I just didn't have time on this particular trip. I was going to do Waffle House my last morning there, but then with the flights all getting screwed up, I just got worried I didn't have enough time. So next time. Just be about Waffle House. They're always open. I'll find them next time. Ma's saying, explain your background. All right, Ma. Tell me that you haven't watched Alice in Borderland without actually telling me. That's a thing y'all know on Instagram, right? Yeah, Ma. No, this is a background from Alice in Borderland. I mentioned that I may have spent a little time bored in a couple of airports last week, right? Yeah, a lot of time. So while I had some time, I started watching. Netflix has Alice in Borderland. I'm not going to give away any spoilers. It'd be hard to anyway, because it's just weird. It's a little bit like Hunger Games is the best way I can describe it. Now, this comes from Japan. Hunger Games came for Korea, so a little bit different cultures, but very much the same idea. This is a little bit like Battle Royale as well, for those of you who watched that. And that's a Hunger Games. I meant Squid Games. Korea, Hunger Games, Squid Games. They all kind of horrible games, right? Yeah, no, this is Alice in Borderlands from Japan. Squid Games is from South Korea. And then Battle Royale was from Japan as well. They're all the same kind of idea that you end up trapped into a situation where you have to play games, life or death type games as well, right? It was and that's what Alice in Borderland is like. Now, Squid Games, well, I was gonna say that there was no strategy. Actually, there was in a lot of those, right? You had to figure out how to win. But even more so in Alice in Borderland, a lot of the games that they have to compete in on this show, and again, I'm not going to go into details, but a lot of the games they compete in, to survive, you really have to use your brain. And it's fun watching it because I play along with it. Sharon and I binged watched some of it, came back home. Sharon and I watched it. I got her caught up. But some of the different games they have on there, we talked about, oh, I'd do this, or if you did this, you'd be okay, or you'd really be in trouble. And it's a fun interactive type deal, trying to figure out what you would do in this particular situation. And so it's it's very violent. It's very graphic, as some of these things tend to be. But the idea is that see the King of Spades over here. There's a whole bunch of different cards, and every card in the deck of cards represents a different kind of challenge, a different level of difficulty, and people are trying to survive all the different puzzles they have to compete in. It's if you can handle the violence, because again, they don't hold anything back. But if you can handle that, it's a creepy, enjoyable, interesting kind of show. A little bit of all of that combined. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that up there as a bit of a tease, just to give y'all a clue of some of what I was watching this week. Now, speaking of creepy, a little interesting, a little strange, Jake the Horror Movie Geek. I don't know if you've watched this. I don't know if it's the kind of horror movie that you enjoy or not. We watched another show this weekend. It's just kind of a creepy weekend. We watched another movie this weekend, and I'm curious to see what some of y'all may have watched it or not, and what you thought about The Menu. Have y'all seen that? Oh my gosh, with Ralph Fiennes as an all-star kind of celebrity type chef, bringing all these people in for an exclusive dinner on his island. And I'm absolutely not going to throw out any spoilers on that one, because I went in not really knowing anything that it was about. I'd heard it was kind of a horror comedy movie all mixed together. I still don't know how to describe it, but a very unique kind of movie. I can't say when I got done that I don't know. It was a little uncomfortable. Well, it made me feel a little ugh, but interesting. Very interesting. If you haven't watched The Menu, just watch it. Send me a DM. Let me know what y'all thought about it because it was very 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 strange. It was unique. It was a very original movie. Haven't seen anything like that before. So I'll leave it at that. Watch it though and let me know what you think because I don't know if I had to rate it thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know. I guess I'd give it a thumbs up, but I don't know. It's still it's one of those movies that makes you think, and I'm still thinking a little bit on it. So you know. All right, Chaz and Brian are saying, all right, yeah, let's talk about it. Have you watched Traitors? So much to talk about this week. Have you watched Traitors? Yes, kind of. Now I didn't realize. I figured it out last week. I guess I hadn't realized necessarily when I first started looking at Traitors that it was on the Peacock app, that you can't watch it on regular TV just yet. I was like, oh, come on, guys. As many different streaming services as I have, but I don't have Peacock, which made it a little bit more difficult to chase it down. But I did watch the first episode, and I just discovered, and I'm not going into details here because I'm not 100% certain on how the validity of doing it, but I think I've got a way to watch the remaining episodes as well, and I'll just leave it at that. But I think I got a way. But I watched the first episode. It's kind of intriguing. Now here's one thing that's really funny. I didn't realize that this movie originally was over in the UK on BBC. And so Sharon and I got all ready to watch Traitors. Here come all the reality people and all this is going to be great. The episode starts playing. They keep introducing all of these Brits. And I thought, when are they going to bring in the American reality TV people? And I thought, well, they're going to wait to the end. Maybe it's locals versus the Americans and all of that. No, I go through the first 15 minutes before I finally realize that, there's more than one season of Traitors, and we're not watching the season with the reality folks from the United States. This was one of the original seasons. I'm going to go back and watch that because that looks like it could be fun too, but that's not what I wanted to watch. So I had to do a little scrambling around. I eventually did find the first episode. Can I first of all say they did a fantastic job in terms of casting. They've got so many different people from different reality shows. Survivor's represented, Big Brother's represented, The Bachelor, Bachelorette is represented. They got a lot of people from a lot of different shows over here. Below Deck, Kate Castaigne is their last name. Kate from Below Deck is on there. One of the Real Housewives is on there. There's just a lot of different reality folks in there. And I got to say, it was pretty good. It's got me very interested. I haven't seen beyond episode 1, but again, I think I've got a way to do that. But yeah, I like it. For those of you who haven't checked it out, basically it's 20-something people. 4 people have been, I guess, randomly. I don't know exactly who picked, but 4 people have been picked to be the traitors, the murderers. I take that back. 3 people. 3 people have been picked to be like traitors, and they have to every night, every episode or whatever, kill one of the other people. Pick who they want to betray and kill. While the rest of the people, it's up to them to figure out who the traitors are and eliminate them before it happens. It kind of reminds me, if y'all ever play that game, I think it's called Mafia. There's a bunch of different names for it. They played it on Big Brother season before last, I think, a lot, where you cover you close your eyes and one person's the assassin and everyone else has to figure out who the assassin is before they take everyone in the house out, something like that. It's very similar. It's a game show that's based on the whole thing, and it's just a lot of fun. And again, the cast is fantastic. One of my favorite contestants from Survivor, old school, is Suri. Suri was just always so much fun because she always seemed to have fun doing Survivor, but she never seemed like she quite felt like she was in her element. And I just always enjoyed watching her, cheering her on. Well, she's on it. I hadn't seen her on reality TV for quite a while. She's on there from Big Brother. We've got Rachel Riley. We've got Cody Donaldson. We got a lot of Cody Donaldson, Cody Calafuri. We got a lot of folks on there. So yeah, if you haven't watched traders and you got access to the Peacock Network or other options as well, check it out. It's pretty good. Marine is saying, are you watching The Circle? I've done so much binge watching. After seeing Marvin, I was glad Joseph took his place on Big Brother. You know, I get that, Marine. Yes, to answer your question, yes, I am watching it. I haven't finished it yet. I don't think they finished the season, right? They're still releasing episodes. I think we're on episode number 6 or 7, so I'm not caught up, but I'm getting closer. And yeah, I don't know. I think Marvin is kind of. I get it. I don't know how Marvin would have done in the house. He's such a just, I'll talk at weightlifting, bodybuilding, and all that. But he's also a chemical engineer, and he's from Houston. So there's certainly a lot of things that cheer me on, that would make me cheer for Marvin. He seems very fun. He's always smiling. He's always like, oh, I enjoy watching him. Is he going to be the best player in the circle? No. And without going into spoilers, I saw him last night. There were some questions that everyone had to answer on different topics. And I felt like he kind of screwed his question up, or at least a topic he chose a little bit. So I'm not sure that Marvin's the best player playing the circle, but he's kind of fun watching. And I think if he'd been in the Big Brother house, I don't know. I don't think he was ever going to be the strategic player that Joseph was. I thought Joseph was running the house there for a while this past season of Big Brother. I really thought Joseph was going to go a lot further even than he did. So I definitely was happy to see Joseph in the house over the summertime. Isn't it funny? Joseph only got on to Big Brother because Marvin got pulled because he'd done what America's Got Talent or where, and didn't have the clearances to play the game. If Marvin had been in there instead of Joseph, it would have been a whole different game throughout that season, right? Suddenly, you don't have Joseph and Taylor kind of with their connections. You don't have Joseph going back and forth playing the middleman and doing everything he could with the leftovers and all of that. Where does Marvin end up? How does he play the game differently? You could have had a completely different season, but just because he went out and Joseph came in, everything changed. Just like my season of Big Brother. Originally, Christy Murphy was not supposed to be on our season. She was supposed to be an alternate. And someone who apparently Kat Dunn knew. Kat knows everyone. How could you have so many people that knew each other in my season of Big Brother? They almost had another one. Kat and supposedly a woman who was supposed to be in there who got pulled last minute for whatever reasons. So Christy came in and took her place. If Christy hadn't been in the house, our season would have been completely different. She wouldn't have won the first HOH competition. Who knows who would have won instead? She probably would not have had the diamond power of veto, whoever was in there instead, which meant my HOH, I may have had a little more control over what was had. So many things would have been different without Christy in there. Now, I love playing the game with Christy. I'm glad I got to know her as a person inside the house, outside the house. But yeah, it would have been a completely different experience if she hadn't been in there. So you never know. You never know how these things are going to turn out. Sometimes it just is a random flip of a coin. How you got to have a lot of luck when you're playing these reality games, right? You can have all the strategy in the world, but sometimes it just depends on who else you're interacting with and how they operate, and just a whole lot of things that are beyond your control. All right, Nunzio Cusinotto. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm going to try it again just because. Nunzio Cusinota. Close enough? Cusinata. It's a pretty cool name. I like your name, Nunzio. Spy School. Bravo had a show. It was great. I'm liking it. It's Spy School. I know what you're talking about. I watched it. I watched everything with reality TV. Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I know what you're talking about. I think it was called Spy Masters. So it may have been a different. We may be talking about two different shows, but there was a show I watched called Spy Masters where they had to do spy things every week, tail people, break into houses, staged, and not just random houses. That'd be a heck of a show, right? We're going to train you how to be a cat burglar. No, this was, it was all set up, but people, they had to do different things that would be all about learning spycraft and all of that. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed that. There was one woman from Spy Master who was at Hearts of Reality last December, and I really wanted to go introduce myself to her because I thought, God, I'm going to be the only person in this entire group who knows her from Spy Masters. And so I wanted to find. I never could find her. I don't know if she did make the appearance or it's been a few years, so she may have changed her look just a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, I like that. And with all that being said, Spy Master, Spy School could be slightly different, but if it's a reality show, I've probably seen it. Now, when you mentioned Spy Masters, Spy School, it got me to thinking about yet another reality show that I've been watching. And thank y'all for turning me on to it. That Special Services, I don't want to say it's Navy SEALs because I don't think that's what it is. Special Services, the celebrity deal that's on Fox. Pretty sure it's Fox, where they've got a whole bunch of celebrities in there and they're having to do different tasks. They've got 4 badass special forces folks from the UK, from the United States. They don't give these people a lot of slack. They're pretty strict with them, and they're having to do different things. Fall out of airplanes, just fall backwards and land in the water 20 feet down, and get in cars that are getting submerged and swim back out and everything, and do midnight running. And the latrine system, just like the military, just nothing but a bunch of buckets set side by side with the minimal amount of walls up between them. It seems like a pretty miserable experience for these celebrities. I have a feeling there's a lot of celebrities that after that were over, went to their agents and said, "You put me on that show, you're fired because you're an idiot for putting me on that show." We've already had a few people. Who's that? Dr. Drew is on there. Tyler from I don't remember what his last name is. Tyler from Worst Cooks on America and the Great Food Truck Race and different things on the Food Network. He's on there. Jamie Lynn Spears is on there. Some basketball players. Just a bunch of different people. Mike Piazza from the Dodgers baseball. A lot of different people are playing this game, and I'm kind of hooked because there's a little bit of the celebrities trying to talk each other out of leaving, but I feel like it's a lot more sincere than some other reality shows I've seen in the past. I think these people are really suffering and really not wanting to be there. I think it's 10 days total length, but it looks pretty miserable. So I'm enjoying that as well. So many reality shows. I guess it's a good thing we don't have Celebrity Big Brother, because how would I fit it all in? All right, what else do we have? Mark's saying, let's talk about the challenge. Mark's asking on the challenge, do you think Tori was right about not getting her ex out when picking players for elimination? And could you dance in the air like on the challenge? Faisal and Casey weren't bad. First of all, as far as dancing in the air, I think Faisal, I mentioned on my, for those of you who don't know, first of all, there was a competition where they had to do they're in Argentina, and they had to do kind of a tango on a very small beam out 300 feet in the air. And at one point, Faisal and Casey were holding on to each other. They had to go down this beam. So Faisal's going forward, Casey's going backwards, having to step over different bumps and curbs and things like that on the beam. They get halfway, there's a little circle. They have to all get on a circle and then very carefully rotate 180 degrees around. So now Faisal's going backwards and Casey's going forward. Get to the end, turn around again, repeat it coming back. They did pretty well. I mean, they're both athletes. And Faisal made some kind of mention about, he's light on his feet because he played football as a receiver. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think Fessie's got feet like this. He's a big guy. I imagine he's got big feet as well. That's got to be hard up on that tiny little beam. I know when I did Big Brother, there was one competition where we had to stand on the disc and get spun around, crash into an 18-wheeler that was set up and all that. I quickly realized that my feet were a little bit bigger than Holly and Nicole's, who I was competing against, because I got on that disc and my heel went over the back side of the disc. My toes went over the front side of the disc. I'll look over at these two, and these little petite feet in the middle of this disc, it just made it a lot easier for them to keep their body weight centralized over the rope and the disc and all that. it was not a challenge designed for someone with big feet. And I thought the same thing about Faisal on this challenge, but they did pretty well. Yeah, I think I'd do okay. I used to work on oil rigs, and of course we always have safety ropes. It was all about safety, so yeah, I never really was in danger of falling. But I was up 150 feet up in the air, walking on little girders and things like that, trying to get from one side of the rig to the other, and reaching for pieces and pipes and things like that. So I've done my share of high altitude aerobat, 150 feet, if you want to call it high altitude. It seems like it when you're up there. But yeah, I think I could hold my own. Now, put me on a little tiny circle with a woman on the other side. I mean, we're both trying to turn around. That may not be so easy for me. That would be the difficult part because I kind of have to be leaning a little bit further back than some people. But that's all right. I would certainly give it a shot. Now, back to the original question about Tori. For those of you who don't know, there's two players in here, Tori and Jordan, who used to be so tight that I don't think they weren't ever married, but they were a couple. They were in a relationship outside the house. They broke up with each other. And then as things happen on this show, they both came back into the house this season. For a little while, it seems like they were kind of tightening their bond with each other yet again. Jordan actually proposed on the show, for those of you who don't know. So it was, I mean, they were tight. And it seemed like they were getting tight again to the point you're thinking, well, are they going to get back together this season? Nah, that didn't happen so much. They kind of had a falling out. At one point, Tori had kind of threatened Jordan, said, "Hey, if you don't vote the way I want you to vote, then our relationship is over." Jordan got very upset that she would threaten their outside the house, outside the game relationship to force him to do something within the game. He called her a terrorist. I think last week he revised that comment to say, "Well, you're a terrorist of love," right? That makes it much better, right? But yeah, certainly a little bit of a falling out on that. So, with all that being said, as the background, it came down this week. Tori had to pick someone to potentially go up for elimination, potentially go home. She could pick Jordan, who was her ex, but then, they kind of had their falling out. She could pick him, send him out the door, or she could pick someone else. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers, so I won't reveal the outcome of the elimination, but she ended up not picking her ex. She let him slide. She put someone else up instead and kind of tried to save him a little bit. And again, I'm not going to go into detail about what happened after that, but I don't know if that's taking the high road or not, because I don't know that I would blame her if she had said his name, because at this point they've made it clear they're both playing for the game itself and all of that. But was it a mistake for her to do so? I don't think so. I get why she did it. I think he had said during an earlier part of the show that he would never say her name. And he was kind of hurt that she would even consider saying his. Well, the fact that now she did not say his name, she protected him. I think, at least in that point in time, based on what was going on at that point in time, I think she was doing it with the recognition that if she truly did save him, then hopefully that would mean that he's going to be watching out for her a little bit. It'd make him a bit of a hypocrite if she did that, and then suddenly later he came after her and tried to take her out, right? So if she'd said his name, then he's got full weight and ammunition to turn right around and say, "That first chance I get to her, you're going in." So I think she did it with the recognition that maybe it was preserving or creating some protection from the other side of the team. So yeah, I think it was okay what she did. Now, as twists and things happen in the show, it may not amount to a hill of beans because everything's changed up after that. And again, you'll have to go watch the challenge if you want to see what that was. But or you may have to go out and check the recap of the challenge, which I am still covering. We're through with Survivor. I'm still covering the challenge. So I guess this is as good time as any to say, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, turn on notifications. And if you do that, and while you're out there, you can hit the thumbs up as well. But if you turn on notifications, when I drop my recap of every week of the challenge, you'll get notification. You can go out and you can hear all the spoilers that I'm not going to talk about right now. I gotta say, I've really enjoyed this season so far, and this last twist that TJ threw out there, I'm all in on. I'm ready to see how it works out. But yeah, I'm okay with the decision Tori made. But there's a huge part of me that feels a little bit like a niece and one of the other contestants, where she says, I'm just tired of the yelling. One or the other is going to need to go. Don't necessarily, well, she cares which one it is, but I think a lot of people may not care which one of them goes as long as one of them goes, just so they stop snapping at each other. All right, Miss Fire is saying, who is Fessy's partner? And no, and mentioned Olivia. Fessy's partner is Mariah, who I don't know if there was a love interest or they were friends. I'm not exactly sure what the relationship was. I don't think it's a love interest because Faisal was flirting around quite a bit when he first came in the house. So I guess just a friend. But Faisal's ride or die was Mariah. And then you mentioned Olivia. Olivia's ride or die is Horatio. And Horatio is a professional soccer player. He won some kind of reality show, and I can't remember the name of it. It's on telenovela, one of the Mexican or Spanish language channels. But he's quite the athlete. And the Olivia, I way underestimated her. Being Love Island contestant, I thought, she'll go in, she'll be out quick. Now she's a heck of a player. So yeah, that's Faisal's connection is Mariah. Now here's what's interesting: the two of them are ride or dies, but at Hearts of Reality in December, the charity event over in Orlando, when I was there, I met Johnny Bananas. Incredible guy. If there was anyone who could be a diva, you would think it'd be him. As many times as he's won the challenge and everything else, it'd be easy for him to get a big head. Nah, he was the nicest guy in the world. Just incredibly nice guy. Very just warm. But he was there with Mariah, and I very much got the impression they were there as a couple. So, yeah, somewhere along the way of the challenge, apparently Faisal and Mariah, not so much. Bananas and Mariah, a little bit more because they certainly were an item, a couple. It seems like when they were together at Hearts of Reality. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see the way the rest of the season pans out and hear what just might have happened going forward. So we got that. All right. Slate saying, though, while watching a trader, all I could think of was you should be on it. That'd be fun. Now, here's the question. If I was on it, you don't get choice. There were people saying, I want to be a trader. There's others who are saying, I don't want to be a trader. What would you be? I think truly, if I had the chance, I think I'd be the trader if they let me pick. Only because I think, just based on my background on Big Brother, I think people would be more inclined to believe me and trust me when I was saying different things. So I feel like it would be just a little bit easier to be a trader and kind of lie a little bit and be a little more dishonest in that role, and not necessarily have people suspect me as much as maybe they would suspect other people. But yeah, I liked it. If they do another season of The Trader, I'd be all in on it. And it would kind of, I don't get the impression that y'all can tell me. Some people have seen more episodes. I don't get the impression that Traders is the kind of show like Big Brother and The Circle where you got a lot of people hooking up and there's a lot of testosterone going around and all that. It's much, much more a strategy show that I would like to play. That's what I want to do. I want to match wits with other people. I got a wife. I'm not interested in any of the old hanky panky and all that. I just want to go in and match the old intellect with each other. And it seems like the Traders would be perfect for that. Another show, and I'll take about 30 seconds for this. I don't know if any of y'all have seen it. I think they're out on YouTube. If you want to see an absolute incredible strategy show, it's from South Korea, and I think it's called The Genius. I don't think it's Real Genius. I think it's just The Genius. It's a game show that they had. I think they had a couple of seasons of it. And every episode is a very involved, strategic puzzle. It's really interesting. It's all subtitled, so you really have to pay attention to keep up with it. And I haven't made it through the whole season, but some challenges in there that you got to be thinking from start to finish in order to make it happen, in order to win. Incredible show. I need to go back and find it again. So there you go. Put it on your list if you haven't already done so. The Genius is certainly one of them. All right, Vicky Stone, do you have a good poker face? I don't know, Vicky. I feel like I probably do, but I think we all have tells somewhere. So I don't know. We'll see. Mint saying, you've seen Allison in Borderland. Yes, I have. As an example, yeah, Mint, we were talking about that earlier. I haven't finished it. I've got a few episodes. I think I'm like 2 episodes left to go, so I'm pretty dang close. But yeah, I've been binging it for the past weekend or so, and a little bit before that. Mark's saying, I could see you as a catfish on the circle. I imagine you would be your daughter. Mark, I could try, but I just feel like I would get tripped up on some of the language. I'm gonna start throwing out emojis and FOMO and different little terms, yeah, LOLs and all that stuff, and I'm gonna say something that's just dumb or just doesn't sound right, or I'm gonna say something that very much posts me in the 80s, up your nose with a rubber hose. Yeah, and I'm not gonna say that, but it would be hard. I feel like I communicate so much with smiles and with and just having fun and my hands and all of that. To do it strictly through a computer and still get my messages across, it'd be hard. It'd be fun, and to be a catfish, yeah, that would be entertaining. And I think I don't know how I'd do. I've had fun. For those of you who don't, I know Shuby. I met Shuby from season 1, and he's back on here. And I know y'all threw out some spoilers a little earlier, and I'm not going to comment one way or the other. But it's interesting watching him try to play some different characters and all that as well. So yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know how I'd do on there. I don't feel like that's my strength is the social media, the emojis and all that. But I'd hold my own. I almost feel like I'd do better going in there and just do me. Just say, I mean, maybe not say as I'm Big Brother or anything, but just go on and say, hey, I'm an older guy and I'm just here to have fun. And then I wouldn't have to stress out so much about trying to keep up the lie. It's got to be hard to be a catfish the whole time they're on that show and not do anything that's going to start pointing fingers at you because you said something slightly wrong. It'd be hard. All right, Michelle saying, have you ever been in a haunted house? Yeah, I've been I feel like I've been in a haunted house. Uh, I got 2 places that I feel were kind of a little haunted. Okay, the first one was in college at Texas A&M. My brother Robert ended up in a house with 4 or 5 other guys. They all piled into this old house in an old part of town, 2-story house, big old porch on the front, wood floors throughout the whole thing. It was very much a house that had been built in, I don't know, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. It was an old house, incredibly beautiful house. They had kind of run down, which is why there are a bunch of college kids living in it. But they had that house, and I'll never forget. There was a closet on the upstairs floor in the main hallway. What was scary about this closet was that on the outside there was a hook, so you could lock the closet with this hook on the outside. Scary right there, right? Even more so when you went inside and you looked up at the top of the doors and you could see 4 scrapes across the top of the door, about this long, scraped all the way through the varnish, the stain and everything down to the bare wood. And when you put your hand up there, right up against that those marks, it fits your hand perfectly. Right now, there's probably a very non-paranormal, probably a very sad reason for those scratches inside the closet. But I prefer to think of it as a demon trapped inside the closet that they kept trapped inside because they had the hook on the outside. I don't know, but it was certainly a scary looking place, and they would stay there. And in the middle of the night, they'd hear all kinds of creaks and groans and all kinds of stuff. Theoretically, the wind whistling through this house, but maybe something else. It gave you the haunted house kind of vibes. The other place that I've been to once that I've always thought was probably a little bit haunted was a house over in Arlington, Texas, where I grew up. My family almost moved there, and while we were checking it out, we discovered that it had been one of Bonnie and Clyde's hideouts while they were going all across Texas and Louisiana, robbing all these banks. It was one of the places that they hid out in. And looking at this old house, they had things, for instance, you'd go down into the basement. And when you went down into the basement, you could lift up the stairs and there was a hidden passage underneath the stairs, a hidden room that you could hang out in to hide if someone showed up. So there was a hidden room there. Up in the first floor, there were wood panels, wood flooring, and you could pull away some of the planks of the wood floor. And there were big open spaces where they hid either money or guns or who knows what else. They had stuff up there. They had dug a hole in the basement that if you truly wanted to, you could go down this hole and it came out at a well located 50 feet or so away from the house. So it was a secret escape passage. And then inside the well were some posts that you could hold on to and crawl up like a ladder and sneak out of the house that way. My brother and I saw that, immediately volunteered. Amazing, we volunteered to go through this little tunnel to see if there was actually a well on the other side. Until they shined a flashlight in there and there were cobwebs in there. And we were also told that there were probably a whole lot of scorpions and maybe a few snakes as well. At that point, I said, yeah, we'll take your word for it. But if there was ever a place where there were going to be ghosts, it'd probably be there. Now, in terms of actually seeing ghosts, yeah, I've had one or two times where I feel like maybe I saw something. We'll save that for another week because I know we're getting right up against it. And that just sounds like a story worth telling some other time. But yeah, one time in particular, I feel like I saw a ghost, but two times. We'll talk. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Y'all remind me if I forget it, but we'll do that. All right. George Vlog said, Alice in Borderland is my favorite Netflix show. It's getting right up there. It's certainly an interesting one. Now, you got to be in the right mood. I don't know what it was about this weekend. Everything that Sharon and I watched was just depressing as heck. Alice in Borderland was depressing. We watched The Menu, which was kind of depressing. We even watched Quantum Leap. What's that on NBC? Even Quantum Leap was a depressing episode. Just everything we watch is like, oh my gosh, these shows are so down. That's why we watch The Circle. And I gotta say, we talked about The Circle. I talked about Shuby just a little bit. I talked about Marvin just a little bit. Brett Robinson, that guy, Big Brother 20, he is so much fun to watch. I've talked to him online a couple of times. I haven't ever actually met him in person. He spends time down here in Texas. I'm gonna go chase him down because that guy, he's just something else. I'd really love to hang with him for just a little while and see what he's all about because he is a very interesting character. He has a lot of fun on this show. I have a feeling he'd be fun to hang around with as well. But yeah, we watched The Circle just because we had to watch something a little lighter than all these shows we were watching. Man, there's just some dark stuff going on TV. Cindy's saying, I have pictures with ghosts in the photos. And that's a little scary, right? Yeah, I think it's entirely feasible. You know, who are we to say? Our little old tiny brains, we only know what we know. And I fully recognize there's a whole lot that we don't know. I watched a Netflix show all about the concept of infinity and how you wrap your mind around infinity, and it quickly just blows your mind. And so yeah, I think it's possible. So get my attention. Now, I'm sitting in a hotel like I did last week. Some ghost in the curtains. Maybe not so scary. Middle of the night, out in the middle of nowhere. Phone service isn't working. It's a dark, stormy night, all that. I see a ghost there. You're getting my attention. You're quickly getting my attention. And I've seen The Shining. You have two little twin girls show up at the end of a hallway. Or you have an elevator that starts opening up and the red stuff pouring out. Yeah. You think I'm bright? I did everything I could in Big Brother to never give up, never quit, all that. I see little girls at the end of a hallway in a scary, creepy hotel. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Game over. I'm heading back the other way. I'm through with whatever adventure I'm doing. So, yeah, I got my limits as well. All right, guys. With that being said, 7:59. I go so quick. I knew with all the different TV shows I'd binge watched, thanks to that long FAA delays and all that. I knew we'd be doing a lot of talking about that, but hey, that's what it's all about, right? So hopefully those of you who haven't seen some of these shows, check them out. I'd love to get get y'all's thoughts on all of them next week, and we'll talk some more about the challenge. A lot to talk about, guys. Y'all have a fantastic week. God, it's already what, the middle of January. It goes so fast. Y'all enjoy this next week. I will be back next Monday to talk about reality TV, whatever else may be on y'all's mind. Y'all send me DMs. Let me know what y'all want to talk about as well. I throw a ghost story in there or two as well. We'll just see what happens. Until then, guys, as I mentioned before, please go out there, sign up for my channel. I always appreciate that. Turn on notifications if you would, and give me a big old thumbs up, and I'd be most appreciative. Guys, y'all have a great one. SKD143. Until next Monday, stay warm, stay safe. Don't let the ghosts bother you too much. Have a good one. I'll talk to y'all later, guys. Cheers. Oh, and the challenge on Wednesday night. So check that as well. Y'all have a great one, guys. Talk to you later.